Oligopoly occurs when a few firms dominate a market, such as newspapers, supermarkets and airlines. Duopoly occurs when two firms dominate an industry. Because there are only a few firms, the actions of one of them can have significant effect on the behaviour of the others. There is no one price and outcome in oligopoly. Firms are interdependent, and the firm's behaviour will depend on what it thinks the others are going to do. Economists build different models with different assumptions. Each will have its own price, model and output solution. Competition and collusion. Oligopoly firms will have two conflicting aims: to collude with firms to maximise their combined profits, and to compete with other firms to take business away from them and make more profit independent. Tacit collusion occurs when firms collude without any formal agreement being reached, or even without any communication between them. The kinked demand curve, a non-cooperative model of oligopoly, is directly in front of you, represented on the diagram to your right. Here we assume the firm increases its price, other firms do not follow, so the demand is elastic. In short, if a firm increases price, other firms just keep their prices the same, they sell more at the expense of its market share. If the firm decreases its price, other firms do follow the demand and the price is inelastic. If it decreases price, in short, other firms have to decrease to remain competitive. The model explains the rigidity in an oligopoly, why prices do not change much and firms tend to compete via non-price competition. Advertising, sales promotions, for example. This can be explained in two ways. If the price is increased, demand is price elastic and revenue falls. If the price is cut, demand is inelastic and revenue falls. Any change in price leads to a fall in revenue, and so the firm leaves the prices unchanged. The kinked demand curve causes a discontinuity in the marginal revenue curve. Changes in marginal cost between MC1 and MC3 do not change the profit maximising profit and output. In short, prices are likely to be relatively fixed despite cost changes. Collusive model of oligopoly or cartel. Firms collude and work together to act a profit-maximising monopolist. They fix the profit, maximising price and output for the industry. For example, P0, Q0, and give each other quotas. This maximises the industry's profits. But there is an incentive for individual producers to cut their price and exceed their quotas, to increase their own profits at the expense of the industry. Cartels tend to break down as there is an incentive to cheat unless there is an effective policing mechanism. An effective means of ensuring that firms are not producing too much or undercutting the agreed price. That's reflected on the diagrams in front of you. The left diagram being an industry perspective, the right diagram being the firm perspective. As you can see on the industry, MC is MR on an industry perspective, leading to supernormal profits. And each firm has set a quota. Total output of the firms, as represented on the right, is denoted by Q1 on the industry diagram, and that leads to prices in excess of the average cost curve, therefore profit. What makes collusion more likely? If there are only a few firms, it is easier to check on each other and share information. Effective communication and monitoring systems mean that any cheating can be identified early on. Stable cost and demand conditions mean that quotas are easy to allocate and measure. The policy is easier to administer. Similar production costs, so they make similar profits. We now come to a very interesting or more interesting section in economics, depending on how you're finding the course. We're talking about game theory. The decision that a firm makes in an oligopoly depends on the assumptions about other firms. A large amount of work has been written on this subject. However, in order to grasp the very immediate basics, we need only consider an introduction. For further details on decision-making, processes are made in this way. Udemy.com do several very good courses on the subject. I would recommend Game Theory 101 by William Spaniel. For the reader who wishes to indulge further, beyond the basics of this, we will not be considering it as it's beyond the scope of this course. It's a very complicated or a more complicated subject than an introduction to the subject requires. Firms will try to calculate the best course of action depending on how others behave. Economists try to build a model of this behaviour, and this is called game theory. For example, the prisoner's dilemma. An example of game theory payoff matrix for pricing strategies of firm A and firm B. In the matrix you can see in the top right hand corner, the top left of each box shows the payoff for firm A. The bottom right shows the payoff for firm B. If both firms cooperate and raise price, they can earn an extra £100, this being the most profitable outcome for both firms combined. However, if one firm agrees to raise its price, it is in the interests of the other firm to cut its price. If firm A has a low price and firm B a high price, A earns £150 and B loses 50. B wins customers off A. If both firms fail to trust each other, they will cut price and will want to win at the expense of the other and fear that the other might cut price as well. The end result will be that they'll both earn £0 or nothing at all, as they have both cut price. The actual outcome depends on whether they can trust each other. We're said to be in a Nash equilibrium in game theory, where no firm can improve its position given the strategy of other firms. And it's this equilibrium that we're at, because no firm has the incentive to change. Pricing and non-pricing strategies. Cost plus pricing. Firms add a percentage profit to their costs. This is a relatively straightforward strategy to implement. For example, just add 10% to costs. It's often used by retailers, however it ignores demand conditions. Predatory pricing occurs when firms deliberately undercut their competitors to force them out of the market. It is very anti-competitive. Limit pricing, selecting the highest price possible without encouraging entry. If competitors entered, the extra supply would drive down supply to a level at which they could not survive, therefore they do not enter. Price wars. These occur when the firm in an oligopoly try to undercut each other. The aim is to gain sales from their competition. It often happens when the overcapacity in an industry, such as cars and PCs. Price leadership. Sometimes in an oligopoly there is an obvious price leader, i.e. all firms follow the pricing decisions of one of the other firms, and this may be because the price leader is the dominant player in the industry, and so other firms do not wish to challenge it by making different decisions. The decision to follow may be clearly agreed between the firms, or it may occur without any formal agreement. This is known as tacit collusion. Non-price competition. This is quite common in oligopoly. Rather than using price changes, which can easily be followed, firms look for other means to compete, for example advertising, branding, developing well-known brand names and brand loyalty. Sales promotions you'll have seen on the UK certainly. Offers such as Bog Off, buy one get one free, on the TV and advertised widely in the media. Distribution, controlling distribution outlets. In industries such as confectionery, cigarettes, cleaning products and fashion goods such as jeans, spending on promotional campaigns is high. Firms may try to develop unique selling propositions to differentiate their products. For example, locally made, natural ingredients, or 24-hour service. The role of advertising. Advertising is a paid form of communication. It is part of a promotional mix, which also includes sales promotions, sponsorships, special offers, and the sales force. Advertising aims to generate awareness, generate interest, generate desire, and generate action. This is the AIDA model. Advertising can persuade, inform, increase demand, but also can mislead and create barriers to entry, making demand more inelastic, by shifting demand for other firms' products inwards and by making costs to entry higher. That's the end of this section. Thank you very much for attending. I hope to see you in the next section where we'll be considering competition policy.